He's joining us here in studio is Mkhuleko Hlengwa. He's the IFP's national spokesperson. It's great to have you with us on the program.
Good morning to you and the viewers.
And it's a good day for you to talk about some of the gains that you've made, particularly in Nkandla this morning, gaining an additional ward there.
Yes, we did 12 of the 14 wards, with one flip in Ward 14, where one former president resides. But of course, as we indicated last night, these elections are not about him. These elections are about the people. And so we appreciate the gains. Mandeni, we flipped a ward. We're looking at gains in Umzumbe, 6 wards from the ANC, 1 in Reinkonyeni, here in the city of Johannesburg. I keep saying city of Johannesburg.
No, listen, because all of us need to be experienced sometimes, because we've been
because it's been, city of Johannesburg gains, Ekurhuleni gains, but I must say that we are pleasantly surprised at the gains in Amajuba. In as much as we had put in work, the extent to which it has paid off is very good. You're looking at the growth of the party in Newcastle, Utrecht and Danhauser, so we are quite pleased at that result. But generally, the election results are proving to be a continuation of the growth trajectory for the IFP. The focus, of course, now shifts to the constituting of these councils. And one of the key areas we need to focus on as a matter of urgency once they are constituted is putting in forensic investigations, because one of the challenges we are picking up now is that when we flipped these municipalities, and of course unexpectedly for some, is that a lot of irregular things are taking place. Particularly with financial management or mismanagement. Tuba is one of them. And so we are quite concerned now at the behavior of the officials in those municipalities, and we are calling on COGTA to actually ensure that in these days they actually run a tight ship, and then calling on the law enforcement agencies to collaborate with urgency with political parties who will be taking over new councils in effecting these investigations, because we know one of the key areas which were of concern to the electorate was corruption. And so in these next 14 days could be very crucial, the tender management, the contract management, and the financial, particularly payments. So we are worried about that, but we will be monitoring that as a party, particularly in the spaces where we'll be governing. We don't want to inherit, problems. We really are coming in to clean those municipalities, but there is corruption taking place during this electoral period, which is of serious and significant concern.
Okay, we're going to get to that in just a moment, but I want to talk more about the gains you've made in your province. I'm going to call it the IFP's province, because KZN, perhaps the wins that you've had there were largely expected for you as well, weren't they? Are you happy with KZN? And the 2 wards that so far you've garnered in the city of Johannesburg, the 1 ward you've won in Ekurhuleni, is it enough of a reach to the rest of the country for the IFP?
Well, in 2019 we had set into motion the National Expansion Program, and we started those visits to provinces to speak to communities and so on. But COVID really interrupted us. That was a major setback on the direction that we had pointed ourselves into. But what is actually good here is that the national executive was deployed to the provinces. So the building of the foundations of the party in the provinces is an ongoing program. It's not election confined, and we are going to be expecting the reports from them, and of course now the plans moving forward in those communities. So that remains an agenda firmly on the table for the IFP.
I want to just take you through some of the projections, particularly because we have talked so much about Gauteng insofar as who will win it outright, what might a coalition look like in places like Tshwane, in Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni as well. The IFP's performance, and these again are projected numbers, 2% in Johannesburg, right? Those are the projections. In Tshwane, you don't feature in the top 5 parties. You know, what does that feel like for you insofar as the plans for growth that you've been talking about?
Well, we are work in progress. You know, we are a party that suffered major electoral losses in recent elections, and we arrested the electoral decline in 2016 and in 2019. So we are on a rebuilding exercise, and it's one of the reasons why Prince Buthelezi actually stays on as President Emeritus to give guidance and advice, so we can borrow from his experiences in leadership as a leader to provide guidance to the new leadership. And of course, President Hlabisa has been leading the campaign. So it's very important for us that we go back to basics. We need to consolidate the base of the party, lock it in, regain lost ground. The IFP will only start seeing growth internally once what we had lost is actually back. So our sights are now firmly on 2024. We are gunning for the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and we're going to work flat out for that. And the gains of this local government election strengthen that foundation. And of course, the outlook is going to be beyond KwaZulu-Natal, beyond Gauteng, as I was saying. We are building towards the present, and it's very, very important. And it's one of the conference resolutions, and I think the party has done well to take a direction towards implementing conference resolutions. So we're a work in progress, and we are quite comfortable and confident that with the growth trajectory which we are displaying now, and I'm sure the numbers on the board there, as the day goes, as you were saying, the numbers are trickling in very, very slowly. You're going to see the change and the growth for the IFP. And we are worried, of course, about the slow pace of this. It's inexplainable, really, and it's something that the IEC must deal with. Notwithstanding, of course, the fact that we've got a number of issues with the IEC that we'll be dealing with.
Shall we get to the IEC in a moment? I want to ask you this. Insofar as the performance of your party in a place like Johannesburg, right? Will you use that projected 2% as an oversight role in a place like Johannesburg, one of the parts of the country that's been really, in terms of corruption, it's been on the map for some time, not just insofar as COVID-19 corruption is concerned? How will you use the wins in Johannesburg to perform that oversight role?
Well, you'll recall that in the city of Johannesburg, we're in a cooperation of the government of local unity, the multi-party cooperation. At this point, the party is going to look at all the hung councils and make a determination as to whether it's in the interest of the party to participate in those corporations, or rather we play a constructive opposition role on the issues that you're also dealing with. So at this point in time, there is no decision on that. We're going to take a decision particularly in the collective interest of good governance and service delivery. We presented a 10-point plan in the manifesto launch. We've got the IFP constitution and the policies in the South African constitution and relevant legislation. Those are going to be the guiding principles insofar as who we work with. We are going to look at the numbers. The party's national council, which is the highest decision-making body in between conferences, is actually meeting on Saturday, and the National Executive Committee will meet on Monday to then thresh out and practicalize the decisions of the national council.
Is there anyone you won't work with?
Well, we're going to have to make a considered decision on that, because the IFP has got experience of actually working with everybody. You'll recall we had the ANC in our government in KwaZulu-Natal. We had an arrangement of an election with the DA in 2004, the Coalition for Change. We've worked with the ANC, we've worked with the DA and other parties. As things stand now, we've got the support of the EFF and the DA in running Zululand. Of course, the elections are now over, but they were supporting that, and we're working with the ANC and other parties in the city. So we're going to look at it holistically, and we're going to look at the reasons why the electorate may have voted the way that it did, so that we do not counter the wishes of the electorate. That's very, very important for us. So it's a very complex exercise. In the recent years, leaders of the party have been benchmarking abroad on building sustainable coalitions. That's important, because the fragility of these corporations in South Africa is counterproductive to service delivery. So we're going to place all those issues on the table and make a considered decision. Of course, we're not going to compromise on issues of good governance. Corruption is certainly not an IFP value. We don't want to be compromised in that regard. Slow service delivery and so on. So once all those factors combined, we'll take a decision in the collective interest of the electorate.
South Africans don't have a good experience of coalition governance. I want to talk to you about the IEC as we wrap up our interview. It has come under fire for particular parts of its handling of these elections. There are estimates that the VMD, these voter management devices, has meant that up to 100,000 people were not able to cast their ballots. What are some of the issues that the IFP will be taking up with the IEC?
Yeah, well, look, the IEC must understand that any criticism or complaint is meant to enhance the process. We've got no other body which manages elections other than the IEC. Now, the hard-headedness and stubbornness at times is just surprising, shouldn't be happening. These electronic voting devices were offline during the voter registration weekend. People were registered manually and then were told they would be registered online at a later stage. They arrive at voting stations. That has not happened. It's a schoolboy mistake. It's a rookie mistake. It's a mistake which one should not be pegged at an institution of a high level such as the IEC. Secondly, we have repeatedly raised the issue of SADTU members being presiding officers because SADTU's pinned their colors to the mast to say they're supporting the ANC. Yet the IEC tends to be very laissez-faire about it, and now you've got ballot papers stuffed in KwaZulu-Natal, and Bumbul, and the culprit is a SADTU member. So the issues that have been raised, we fundamentally believe the IEC needs to listen constructively, understanding we are stakeholders who want the IEC to succeed. We are not critics who are just bashing them. It's not in our interest of a dysfunctional IEC either. So I think the partnerships need to be strengthened and cultivate a healthy working relationship with everybody involved. And I'm sure that moving forward, the IEC understands that it is also duty-bound to self-introspect very, very deeply for the purposes of the next elections. Also, you'll recall we're going to be having a number of by-elections now because, if you take the Nongoma, for example, 2 deceased ward candidates were elected. So we want to see changes in how elections will be actually managed. And the IEC has to actually shape up at a quick pace.
In fact, we are waiting for a briefing from the IEC for today. Mkhuleko Hlengwa, thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
The IFP's national spokesperson joining us here.